Hi everyone, it's Shelby. Today I'm going to talk to you about some of my new Furls hooks. Currently, I have 5 hooks in my stash. And let's get this out of the way. The Furls hooks come in several different collections and they range in affordability, starting with the wood collection, which is what the company actually started on, was hand-turned wood hooks. And they have morphed into several other styles. The one I have the most of is Streamline. And Streamline is a very lightweight plastic or a resin that's hand poured. So you can see that this one is cafe and cream swirl, and it just has, each hook is hand poured, so they're one of a kind. No two hooks are going to be the same. If you buy a set, they each one will look a little bit different, so you can tell possibly by your eye which is which. They're also stamped. I'm not quite sure how this is applied. It feels like it's engraved slightly with maybe some sort of ink on the front of it. This was actually my very first one, and I bought this one used off of Macari to test out first to see if I liked it. And to be honest, at first I didn't like it. It's been in my collection for about a year. I've used it off and on. It's an H hook, and I've tried using this H hook with my Mandala yarn. And for me, getting the hang of holding it different ways, because I move all the way up from being this close to the top of it to needing the whole length depending on which stitch I'm using. And it gives me enough range on this hook to hold it comfortably in either direction. And I actually didn't get the hang of these hooks until I was gifted this one from a local crochet friend of mine. I believe this is a Galaxy Swirl, which was a limited edition. So you can't really, with the glare, it's hard to see the design completely, but there is some gorgeous swirling. It's almost opaque in places and glittery. Once I was gifted this one, I actually started using it 3.5 weeks ago by the time I'm recording this video, and I have pretty much only been working on this blanket, which is called a little R&R. I'm making up the border as I go along right now. But this one is done with thicker yarn, Pound of Love and Mandala tweed, which is, I have the Pound of Love here. It's Pound of Love suggests a 6mm hook, and I was using a 5mm hook, and it has a beautiful drape. It has a beautiful drape with my my tension. Now I have gone back and I've started using my H hook with Mandala, and I am flying through it. It's so much smoother than my first time around, and I think I just didn't give it long enough of a change. I love my clover hooks. I've been using them for years. Every time I've tried something different, it hasn't been successful, and was kind of expecting the same thing with these Furls. But this one changed my mind completely, and I tend to get shoulder stiffness and elbow pain if I am crocheting too much, and I haven't experienced that in the last few weeks since I've started using, and in fact almost all my projects have just been these 2 hooks the last week or so. I would like to, so these are my old ones. The hooks are all on sale for the month of March for 15%, starting at 15% off up to a certain amount. Then it's 20% off, and the max you can get is 25% off if you spend, I think, $250. I don't remember, but if you're planning to get a whole set, now would be the time to do it. So these ones are tried and true. I've been making this one and this one. It has affected my tension. I was already a loose hooker and now I'm even looser, but it's still even stitching, very consistent, and that's what I'm going for. So what I will be doing is taking all three of these hooks. This is another Streamline swirl, the cafe, and I just lost my train of thought. Oh, what I was going to say, which is what distracted me in the first place, is that whenever I'm trying new hooks, I always go for a 4.5, 5, and a 5.5. They are my go-to, or a G plus H and I is what the letters are. These are my go-to sizes on a majority of the projects that I make. I do use bigger, I do use smaller, but these three are my tried and true. So I'm going to take these three and test it out with my Mandala yarn and let you know my honest feedback. Since Mandala is what I use the most of, I know how the hooks work with the Lion brand Pound of Love and with the Mandala Tweed, but again, at least I'd say 80% of my projects is done with this yarn. And this yarn I will use anything from a 4.5 on up to a 5.5, depending on the project. And actually I've gone bigger just to give it a really, my pocket shawl, I like to use a 6.5 so that I can get nice loose stitches. So I'm starting with the wood hook. If I remember correctly, this is the most affordable one. And so far it's really lightweight. That's so nice. I'm not having any issues with snagging or splitting the yarn. I'm going to pull my hook closer. I'm doing a round of double crochets. I'm working in a magic ring. I'll go around a couple of times so we can see what 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not feeling any finish issues as far as the wood is very smooth. Actually, let's do a round of half double crochets. Yeah, again, not feeling any issues. Smooth as butter. It does, let's see, this one is the largest hook, so it does feel very drapey. The stitches are long and not compact. I wouldn't use this for amigurumi. This would be a great hook pairing for blankets, garments, scarves. All right, I think I'm pretty sold on this one too. Do a round of single crochet just to test out. We've got our double crochets, single crochets. What I appreciate about these hooks that I don't find I get with the clovers is that the head is a little bit pointier. The tip is a little bit pointier. I'm able to get into those stitches without any issues. All right. It's a wonky square just because it's several different stitches in one. I do feel that people who have a preference between clover hooks, Bates hooks, boy hooks, those who have tested these out have had similar experiences to mine where, yes, at first, slight learning curve, but after that, smooth sailing. So there's my little square of double crochet, half double crochet, and single crochet. It works great. These nice long necks can really get into post stitches really easy. All right. It may not be my first choice if I'm doing a blanket this size anyway. The hook was a dream. Nothing. There isn't anything that would stop me from owning more of the wood hooks. I think they come in 3 different colors. This one is the Cafe and Cream, and there's so many cream swirls. I think I've got the cherry here. Whoop. And the Cafe, the Galaxy. There are some astrological themed ones that are coming out. I'm not sure any like release date information, but I know that more and more will be coming out. There's a cookies and cream one that's almost has a marbled effect. Super, super gorgeous. And this coffee one is moving right along. 1, 2, 3. It's giving me just a tighter knit, which is expected with a smaller hook. I would say a 5mm, which this one is, an H, is my go-to when it comes to mandala. Now I'm on to my half double crochet stitches. And I noticed with this blanket here is mandala, and it's a Michael's baby yarn, that even though the 5 is my go-to, my 5 clovers are my go-to, the 5mm in the Furls almost makes it a little too loose for the fabric density that I am looking for. Again, nothing wrong with it. All my stitches are very even. There's not any real wobbliness to my rows at this point, which I've experienced in some of my other blankets in this same pattern. I just want something a little bit more structured than what I'm getting here. So the 5mm Streamline is already happening here, and I have a feeling that my next blanket is going to be with mandala, but in the next hook that I'm going to show off. This one is, now I'm on to the single crochet. These Streamlines that are hand poured resin molds, they are just the tiniest bit heavier than the wood. I don't notice it at this point. Now, if I made a whole blanket between the 2 hooks, I might be able to tell the difference in comfort as far as long-term projects. But right now, the feels are pretty similar. Maybe the wood's just a little bit smoother through this yarn than the resin is, but not enough for me to feel like it's a big difference. And here's my little whoosh. Oh, I messed up that magic circle, so we're not going to talk about the construction error. Where are my scissors? So there's that cute little guy. Again, it really smooth, even stitches, not a huge difference between the 2. Just barely bigger. And now the one that I've been most excited to try. This one is definitely heavier. It is a nickel base, or this part, whatever it's called. Words are hard. This part is nickel. I'm not sure what this part is, but my first guess is that it's a resin or a plastic, but that tip is heavy. But that could be a good thing. I'm not... Again, I won't know for sure until I make an entire blanket. Ooh, that's smooth. Wow. And here I can get really close to get right up there on the tip of it. And if I am doing post stitches, I can go ahead and pull my hand all the way back and have all of that neck space. Yes, I am really excited to make a blanket with this hook. I don't think I've ever been more excited to work with a hook and see how it feels. Instead of, usually I'm just really excited about the yarn and how the yarn is going to turn out with the pattern that I have in mind. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Pull that closed. This is a much smaller knit. The density is really tight, which feels really dramatic to go from such a, whoops. Because that's itty bitty. But let's see the whole thing through. I'm up to the half double crochets now. This might even be better to do, well no, it's going through this yarn really nicely. The only hang-ups I'm having is just how I have my yarn set up. I can move pretty quick. I'm not snagging anything, but gosh, it is just really tiny. I feel like with the mandala, it would take forever to get going anywhere. Just be this little tiny square forever. But I wonder if I would be able to make stuffed animals easier with my hands. That's why I don't do stuffed animals, is because it really hurts my hands. But this hook, it even feels like it has a deeper groove in the neck of it, and that once you get the yarn in there, the yarn's in for good and it isn't popping out. I would not mind owning more hooks in this style either. I can easily see working with some of the finer yarns, this hook would be incredible for like sock weight yarn. I have a lot of it dyed up and it's hard for me to work with. It's tiny, it hurts my hands and wrists, but something like this hook, I imagine it would feel less daunting. Oh, I'm excited to pull out those kinds of projects too. I may hold off. I don't think I will make a mandala blanket with this hook. I think it would just make it too, but I will find the perfect project for this hook because I really enjoy working with this one. It feels like the throat on the neck is a little bit deeper than the others. But look at, did I do that? Yeah, I did the single crochets. Look at how much smaller that is than the others. Well, I guess, I mean, when you stack them up together like that, they fit just perfectly with each other. So if I was doing another baby blanket that I wanted to make sure had a nice tight weave, this actually would be a great hook. And then if I wanted to do a nice flowy triangle scarf or pocket shawl, one of those types of things, move on up to the bigger hook. All three of these worked like a dream with mandala. I know that the streamlines work really well with the thicker yarn, the Pound of Love, and the other mandala as well. Keep you guys updated on, I have some cotton projects coming up that I need to work on, and starting more mandala, all the blankets. It's baby season and I want to knock out a big stack of them before all the babies come out. So thank you again for listening to me ramble about hooks of all things. Don't forget, life's too short, so start that new project.